great group here tonight. Before I get started, I want to acknowledge a few folks and what they've meant to me in preparing for this through hike. The first is to Rock Creek. When they started to open this door, I was looking for an opportunity to put in a few hours, and this has turned out to be a tremendous opportunity for me. And Jonathan, I really appreciate you coming up here, one of the owners right now, coming up here to be part of this. And to the staff here, every one of them can meet your needs if you got any questions about many of things. The other thing I want to do is acknowledge some of my fellow YouTube vloggers. I've got the 2018 class here with Lee and with Evan down here, and be able to share, for them to share with me the things that they've learned on the trail has been very helpful to me. I mean, we all try to take just a little tidbit from each other and try to become better about it. And then also for you, you are a tremendous part of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and why I really enjoy doing it. Because I hope that I give you a little bit of an inspiration. It's not like I want to preach to you, but I do want to inspire you to get out and do things and not ever let age define you. Never let age define you. I am 63. And I'm going to be hitting the trail, and I feel pretty confident that my physical strength and endurance is not going to be a factor in getting through the through hike. And so you guys will be along with me on that journey. I've given each one of you our YouTube channels and ways that you can reach out to us and give us encouragement, and that's so important on the Appalachian Trail. And then last, and probably the most important, is Miss Soaring Eagle here, and allowing me to have this adventure and to stay home and take care of the puppy dogs and all the business activities or whatnot. But she has truly been very supportive of me doing this, as well as through my entire 25 years in the Air Force. She is a true Air Force wife that really has given to our country in so many ways. So, thank you. In World War II, two individuals went off to war. They've basically been living together and enjoying each other's friendship for years and years prior to the war. They did everything together. They hiked, they fished, they hunted. They were just cohorts. They were like brothers as such. And they had plans after the war, things they wanted to do. Unfortunately, only one of them came home. The other one lost his life in the Pacific. And the one that came home was in a rather stressful area in his life. He really didn't know what to do. He was looking for making that transition from the military into private sector life. And many of you who are aware of the term PTSD, he was one of the early first cases of PTSD. And he really needed to try to find his way. So in 1948, in April of 1948, he stepped off on the Appalachian Trail. And it wasn't necessarily the trail we see today, because it had been left unmanaged, not taken care of for so many years, because all the volunteers were either doing things to support the war effort or they were off fighting the war. So the shelters were in shambles, the markings were pretty much nil, but Earl Schaefer stepped off in 1948 trying to find himself and try to rediscover himself and go back into the civilian world. And it took him 124 days to hike a little over 2,000 miles. The distance at that time wasn't the 2,190 miles it is today. But he stepped off on that, and he had a rucksack that weighed 50 pounds. And he soon learned that there's a need to go lightweight when you go backpacking. And so what did he do? He discarded a 10-pound tent. And he went the rest of the trail living under a poncho and from shelter to shelter in order to summit Katahdin. His boots, he wore one pair of boots, a high-top bird dog leather boot. And he resold that boot throughout his trail going along that area, okay? His pack weight was down to 40 pounds. So he took 124 days. That trail was a lot lower than what it is now. It's a lot more in the valleys and on the roads than what it is today. A lot more climbs today and a lot more elevation challenges for the through hikers. Now, he was 79 years old. He went back in 1998 and he thru hiked the Appalachian Trail again. This time his pack weight was 35 pounds. All right, so he made it a lot lighter. He used to say that that you need to carry as little as possible, but choose that little with care. Carry as little as possible, but choose that little with care. Why is that so important to me? Because what I want to share with you today is not what you need to do to be a successful thru hiker. I am not a successful thru hiker. We do have in our presence 2 successful thru hikers. Raise your hand back there. Years ago, they did that. They set the path for us. All right. We have 2 from 2019 that are aspiring to go out, and so they're here as well. You'll find very quickly in this particular community that if you are not a thru hiker, you don't know crapola. Just go on Facebook and they'll tell you. Okay? Until you are a thru hiker, you are a novice. You know nothing. Okay? So those who have gotten to the grail of being a thru hiker and have all the knowledge, then a salute to you. I think it's a bunch of bull. But that's what they'll tell you. It is a vicious world out there for those who are trying to prepare to be a thru hiker. Because there are so many people on Facebook now who are going to tell you that if you don't do single wall tents, you won't make it to Katahdin. If you do not use trail runners, you will not make it to Katahdin. If your base weight, which is everything but your food and your consumptional items, is not under 15 pounds, you will not make Katahdin. The facts do not bear that out. People make Katahdin. Earl Schaefer, 40 pounds, leather boots, made Katahdin. The original and the owner and the starter of Rock Creek, Dawson Wheeler, in the middle of the 1970s, set out to do the Appalachian Trail. He carried on the top of his backpack a Coleman stove to cook with. He says that his weight was probably around 60 pounds. He summited Katahdin. All right? 2 individual Brits from last year, both of them having pack weights and not having any type of ultralight, but carried the Osprey Atmos 65. Both of them summited Katahdin. What's my point on that? Well, the point is this: about 20% of the people who step out on the Appalachian Trail each year finish the full thru hike. 20%. You know what? That particular percentage is not going up. It's going down. It's actually down to between 16 and 20% now. So as we get all this ultralight gear that makes us so much more physically capable of doing a thru hike, we're in fact not having as many people finish as we've had in years past. The ultralight has not defined success for thru hikers. So now, anybody in here who's an ultralight, I mean not to offend you. Evan, I mean nothing against you. Evan is down to 14 pounds? 11 pounds. Okay, 11 pounds. But I cannot hike the way Evan hikes. Okay? And if you go look at his YouTube channel, and it's great, okay? I cannot hike the way Evan hikes. I cannot hike the way that Lee hikes, or the thru hikers in the past, okay? I can't do it. You have to start looking at who you are and what it is that's going to make you comfortable on the trail. They talk about the big 3. The big 3 on thru hiking is your tent, your sleeping bag, and your backpack. All right? I have trouble going to the super ultralight backpack that everyone that raves about, and that being the Art Blast, that Z-Pack Art Blast. Why? I can never really try it on. I couldn't really touch it and feel it. When I did touch and feel it one time, I was like, I'm not impressed. Okay? Now, I have toyed with whether or not I wanted to do the Atmos 65 because of the way that it rides. And I still think that might be a good idea, but I've settled on the Exos 58. Okay? How much does it weigh different than the Z-Pack? It's probably a pound and a pound and a half more, I think, maybe. Somewhere in that neighborhood. All right? So that's what I decided to go there, because I could touch, I could feel it, I could try it on, all those kinds of things that I could really test it out a lot easier than some of the ultralight backpacks. Nothing against them. People do great, all right? So what you want to decide on your backpack is defined by a couple of things. One is, how does it fit on you? How does it feel on you? And then the other thing is, unless you go super ultralight, you can't necessarily fit in a super ultralight backpack. There is a weight limit. Okay, my weight limit on this is 40 pounds. My total loadout right now with food, water, everything is 32 pounds. I feel pretty good about that. Okay, because I know that it's got what I want. That's the main thing. That when I step off on day one of my through hike on the Appalachian Trail, I have confidence that I have what I want. If I was to pick up Evan's backpack and take off on the Appalachian Trail, I would not have the confidence that I have with what I've done. I've done my shakedown hikes. Okay, I've been through the mental process. So the backpack is going to be the XL58. And that's just the thought process that I went through. Another big one is your tent. There are a lot of more lightweight tents than my Big Agnes Copper Spur UL2. And I had a Copper Spur and I gave it away to my niece because I said, I need to chase lightweight. So I bought a single wall tent and I saved myself 2 pounds. I didn't have any heavy poles or whatnot. I did it with my trekking poles. Saved 2 pounds, okay, great. I'm chasing that weight. And then I put that tent up and I found out what I don't like about single wall tents. Anybody know what that is?
Condensation.
Condensation. Every time I moved around, I felt like a rainstorm was coming on me. That's just me, okay? I did not like that feeling of being that confined, that this is going to be my home for 5 months. And so I need to feel comfortable that every night that I get in there, I'm going to feel comfortable. I'm not going to have to fight the condensation. Now, double wall tents do have condensation. Understand that. There is a separation between you and the other wall, and therefore the likelihood of it raining down on you is much, much less. I have actually had condensation through a heavy rainstorm hit the top of the rain fly and knock some of that condensation down. It's going to happen a little bit, okay? But it ain't going to be like the single wall tents. So that was me, the mindset that I went through in order to, I went to a double wall tent. I went to a 2-person tent because I'm a big guy. I like to bring all my gear inside with me so that it's all inside there. Now, a little caution. Do not bring your food inside the tent with you, okay? Because that is not rat proof. A guy this year on the Appalachian Trail got into a camp late and set up camp, too late to throw his bear bag. Threw his bear bag, it's a bear bag, it's all your food in a bag over a tree. Brought it into his tent. 6 rats that night frequented his tent. They gnawed through it and he is sitting there with all types of yelling and screaming trying to get that thing out of there. So you don't bring your food in your tent wherever you're at, okay? It is not because of the bears. I think I'd a whole lot rather take on them bears than 6 rats, all right? But anyway, it fits everything else I can bring in there and I can enjoy it, okay? I did switch over to a quilt and I use a Sea to Summit liner as well. Now, again, I'm not a thru hiker, and the thru hikers will tell you the gospel is that the Sea to Summit liner will not add any thermal value to your sleeping system, okay? I don't know what they were using. It works great for mine. It does add some warmth. It cuts out drafts, and so I've stuck with my Sea to Summit liner. It's a thermal liner, and so I get another 10-degree of thermal value. And I use a quilt, which is a 25-degree, 950 enlightened quilt. All right, and I really do like the quilt system. There's a lot more flexibility, being able to open it up or cinch it around you if you need to be, and you want to stay warm. Okay. So that's how I ended up with the big 3s. So those are a couple of the items that you have to deal with that basically creates the foundation for your gear and your thru hike. Now that ain't, but I can tell you, that's not the only thing they talk about on the internet today. The other big thing is shoes. What shoes are you going to wear? The fad right now is to switch over to trail runners. And probably the #1 shoe people talk about the most is the Ultras, the zero drop shoe. All right, and they are a great pair of shoes. A couple of things though. If you think that you can get in a pair of Ultras on day 1 after wearing normal shoes, I'll guarantee you your Achilles tendon is going to be either stretched, torn, or totally messed up. You have to ease into the Ultras going there. They're lightweight, but there's a lot of doctors out there right now that are concerned that a lot of thru hikers are having more trouble with their Achilles tendons because they're switching to the trail runners and the Ultras, okay? Because you don't have quite the same support. So I thought about that. Again, chasing those, I mean, the thru hikers, they speak the gospel. I mean, it's like getting the 10 Commandments down from the mountaintop from Moses, okay, right? A thru hiker says it, and you got to go do it. But I didn't, and so I opted to go with a lightweight boot. The Hoka's lightweight, and they are waterproof. Another, you'll never do waterproof boots on the AT. They're going to get wet. Okay, that's my problem. Okay, but you can't get high top boots. Very few high top boots come that are not waterproof. Oboz does make a really good one. I have a pair of those that I can switch off to if I want to. But again, most high top boots are going to be waterproof. And so I've decided to go with the Hoka's. They're soft, they're lightweight, and they have a real forward propulsion to them. If you've never tried a pair, they have a really good forward propulsion to them. So that's what I like about as far as the shoes and the boots. A lot of people like to go with another decision that I had to go through. A lot of people like to go with your down jackets, your puffies. It's become pretty much a staple of most thru hikers. However, while I like a puffy, and I've got a really great Arc'teryx puffy, I have decided to go with the Arc'teryx Atom. Okay, it has about the same thermal value as my puffy does, but I don't have to worry about it getting wet. And I like that part of it. So if a down gets wet, then you have that, you lose the thermal value altogether. So I decided not to do that as well. So I've decided to go with that. So if you want to chase weight, what are some of the other things that you can think about doing as far as cutting to chase weight? The big thing is, another big thing is, how much clothes do you carry? Clothes becomes a big thing. I mean, there are certain people, even residing in this room, that are just going to stink, okay? They're not going to have any backup clothes. They're going to wear the same shirt and everything else for 4 days, get into camp, get into the city, wash, wear the same 4. And a lot of people do that. You embrace the funk. You just embrace the funk. And you go on with it. You embrace the suck. It's going to suck being out there those many days as such. All right? So all those things go through your mind, and all those things over the last 2 years, I have been processing. I have been watching YouTube channel after YouTube channel, as many of you have out there, trying to find out what's that golden nugget that's going to make me successful. It's not up here. It is not up here. It is not my physical conditioning. Not at all. When the early people started hiking, they had the advantages of none of this. Who in here, besides Lee and Evan, okay, and a few other folks, who can tell me the first female to thru hike the Appalachian Trail? Another choice? Grandma Gatewood was the first one to thru hike solo, but she was not the first female to thru hike the Appalachian Trail. That goes to Mary Kilpatrick. And Mary Kilpatrick, I thought I had her name on here, but anyway, she did it with a group, and she also hiked across the United States. Grandma Gatewood was the first female that did it all on her own in the mid-1950s. What's the youngest age of anybody who has ever thru hiked the Appalachian Trail? Speak up.
Wasn't there a 14-year-old?
14-year-old, okay? 14-year-old a couple of years back, unsupported. It wasn't like he had the parents along with him. Unsupported, he hiked the Appalachian Trail. They would meet him at various locations at the gaps and whatnot, but he was out there on his own, all right? So now, of all those individuals, and with all the things that have evolved as far as gears, you know, Grandma Gatewood was pretty senior. She did in a pair of tennis shoes. Okay, old Schaefer was young, but he didn't have any kind of gear at all going through there. He had no maps. How he ever made it without any maps. Okay, all those things. To me, and the way I'm preparing for this thing, it all depends upon one thing to be successful on my through hike: mental fortitude. Okay, figuring out how to get through those days when you're going 5 days, 6 days with nothing but rain and cold and no sights. How do you get through those particular days? Mental anguish, mental failure is the #1 reason that people come off the Appalachian Trail. They don't come off because their gear fails. They don't come off because it's too heavy. They don't come because they're not in shape. Okay. One lady started last year. She was way overweight. She had never through hiked. She had never hiked, period. Okay. She lost the weight on the trail. She did not get all the way there. I think she got to Pennsylvania, Mary Callie. But anyway, she's starting again this year. Already lost a lot of weight. But anyway, it was her mental fortitude that kept her on the trail. And that is really the thing. And so where do you get your mental fortitude from? Where am I going to get it from? So I just share that because I can't tell you where you guys are going to get yours from. I can tell you where I got mine from, and maybe you can share later on how you dealt with it. But to me, one is to constantly remind myself why I'm hiking the Appalachian Trail. Why I'm out there. Why is this important to me? And I have a list that I carry with me to constantly look at and say, this is why I'm out here. So if I ever have a bad day, I look at that list and I go, that's why I'm doing why I'm out here. 2, to me, the biggest thing that I want to do is I've got grandkids that are cityfied. And I need to countryfy them somehow or another. I don't know how to do it. Okay? And so I have gotten them engaged in this process. And so if you follow my YouTube channel, I have about 50 to 70 questions that they are going to ask me along the Appalachian Trail. And you'll be able to see that in YouTube, and I'll answer it out actually while I'm out there on the trail. But that's given them a little bit of a spark. So they came down last summer, and we took them down to Springer Mountain. Well, Papa, I need a backpack. Okay? You know, those types of things to try to encourage them to get out. I'm not sure how successful I can be, but hey, it's one way. The other thing is to inspire you, because I am about people getting out and doing things, and so hopefully I can help other people be inspired to do that as well. For me also, at 63, it's tough losing weight. It's tough when you get old to lose weight. Okay, no matter how hard I try, it is really tough. I'm hoping that on the Appalachian Trail I can skinny down some, and I get in better shape. Okay, those are some of the things that that you do on the Appalachian Trail, in my belief. I'm not a thru hiker, so I speak not the gospel. Okay, I can't do that. All right, but that's things that are going to help me to get through the Appalachian Trail. Okay, so I'll talk about any of my gear that you want to, and I'll share with you. My food weighs, for 4 days, my food weighs 3.5 pounds. So a little less than a pound a day. The planning factor that most people go through is 2 pounds a day. And I'm sure that once my hiker hunger gets into play, then I'll probably be doing that. Okay. The amount of water that I carry are those 2 bottles up there on the top, about 1 3/4 liters of water. I filter my water with the Be Free rather than the Sawyer. The main reason I don't do the Sawyer, I've done the Sawyer a lot of times, but I do that because it doesn't freeze. I don't have to worry about it cracking as such. So that's the reason I switched over to that. I will have hot meals. I'll do just the dehydrated meals or whatever I buy out on the trail. My ditty bag here We can talk about any of it, but I try to be pretty simplistic with it. The two things that I try to make sure I never run out of is one is Tape, okay? Because Tape is the best thing for blisters on the market. All right. I also carry KT tape because of the ankles and knees that I know they're gonna get aggravated. KT tape is a great bandage to have with you on the trail. You can do it on your shoulders, you can do it on your back. So I do carry some KT tape with me. I like to carry some soap. And so these little Sea to Summit dehydrated soap basically is what it is. They're just shavings. And so I can take one shaving and I can wash my hands really good with that or my body and whatnot. Then that works out really good. I have one pair of underwear, one pair of shorts, and one shirt. My changing shirt has dual purpose. If you want to look at one of my hacks that I learned off of YouTube, is if you've ever had a blow-up pillow, and I don't know how many of you chase that thing through the middle of the night, I use my shirt and I wrap that around my sleeping pad, and I stuff my Sea to Summit pillow in there. It don't move, so I'm not chasing it as such. This reflector stuff out here, it's a hack from Evan. Rather than using that I can use that for a seat. I can put it underneath my sleeping pad at night, and it will give me additional thermal value. I can put it in my vestibule, so when I'm getting in and out of the tent, I can use it. Or I can roll it out if I want to sit on a log. I can roll it out and use that as well. So multi-purpose, and maybe 1.5 ounces, something like that. Or I think I weighed it was 3 ounces today. I do take camp shoes. The camp shoes I take are really lightweight water shoes from All Leader, and they're only an ounce or so they're worth it. And especially since you're wearing boots, you get your feet out there, let them air out, clean them up, and that's a good way to avoid the blisters as such. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as the Appalachian Trail. Again, I just emphasize to you, it is not your gear, it is not your physical conditioning. It is where you're going to be mentally when you step off on the trail. And I think you've got to step off with confidence. And if you step off questioning who and what you're about, it's just going to build upon you. If you step off with confidence, that confidence will build because you'll build because you'll see it in action.